What's up, everybody? Alessandro here from Tony'sPicks.com, ready to break down this UFC Apex card we have this weekend. Obviously not the most notable names on this card, but I do believe we can find value. I'm going to break down all these guys. A lot of names, like I said, we don't know, but I'll give you guys the information and we'll find these winners. So, in the first fight of the night, we got Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlen Souza. Rodriguez, the minus 200 favorite, 10-2 in MMA, versus Souza, the plus 170 underdog. A little bit more experience in MMA, 15-5. Both women are 5'3", 63.5-inch reach. I'll just be quick and easy with this. I think it's Piera. I think it's Piera by decision. I like that a lot to lower the minus 200 price. Nothing really worries me. I think she has that mean streak. Obviously, we saw that DQ there from her a couple fights ago when she, got those headbutts. That was crazy. She was winning that fight too. She could have easily, been now would be 11-1 in the MMA. I think it's Piera Rodriguez all day here. I like her by decision. On to the next fight. We got Rafael Estevam versus Felipe Bunes. Estevam 13-0 versus Bunes 14-7. I'm going to go with Bunes here in this fight. He trains out of the Pitbull Brothers gym. They're going to have him in the center of the octagon, ready to die in there. I think he's going to walk down Estevam. Obviously, Estevam, has a lot of talent. I just don't see him pulling anything off, especially when he's going to be on his back foot all night. And Bunes is going to be controlling the center of the ring. Give me Felipe Bunes there at, plus 350? I like that price a lot. I'll take Felipe Bunes there, the dog, in the second fight. On to the next one. We got Austin Bashi minus 500 versus plus 350 John Yannis. Am I going to go dog again? Yes, I am. John Yannis plus 350. In his third fight, he fought Cameron Smotherman, a guy who I feel like is a way better wrestler than Austin Bashi. Maybe not way better, but at least on the same level. And probably a lot more to offer on the feet. And for you to fight that guy there and lose to a split decision in only your third fight, I like that a lot. Smotherman was 4-3 going into that fight, trying to maybe cherry pick a win there. So I'm impressed with what I've seen with Yannis. I've looked at some of his, highlights and stuff and watched some of his fights. I think he has the counter wrestling here to stop Bashi, keep this on the feet where he'll have some reach and, size advantage there. And I think the striking advantage as well. Give me John Yannis plus 350, probably by decision as well. These first three fights, it would not surprise me to see decision. And these Apex fights start off kind of with a snooze fest here. On to the next fight. We got Andrey Pulyaev versus Nick Klein. I'll keep it short and sweet as well with this one. Andrey Pulyaev, and I probably see this one as well by decision. You'll see a trend here. I think, Pulyaev at the end of the day is, the bigger, longer fighter. Klein was, on the what I call can crushed there by Mansour Abdul Malik. Obviously, that was a cherry-picked win for Abdul Malik. And, anytime you see Klein, it's a cherry pick. Andrey Pulyaev, 6'4", big old Russian weight. I'm not even that impressed with this Pulyaev guy. I'm not going to bet on Nick Klein. It's Pulyaev all the way, minus 155. On to the next one. I do like him by decision, too, real quick. So that'd be 4 straight decisions to start this UFC Apex card. But yes, on to the next fight. We got Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. Rodolfo Vieira minus 220. Tresean Gore plus 180. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm leaning Gore here at plus 180. I think he's just, better athlete. Is going to be able to keep this fight on the feet where I think he'll have the advantage. Obviously, if this fight hits the mat, I see Vieira getting a sub. I can't blame anybody for wanting to touch Vieira by sub. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing that. I'm touching Tresean Gore because I've seen Rodolfo Vieira lose to Fluffy. I know Fluffy Hernandez has gone on a little run here, but that was just a straight exposing of Rodolfo Vieira. I know the cardio was the reason behind that, but who says he's going to improve on that right now in this fight? Gore's had problems with the cardio as well. I could see this being, an action-packed first round, even early into the second round, but I see these two guys eventually just staring across the ring from each other, and not a lot of action here, possibly a lot of clinching, a little boring snooze fest. Give me Tresean Gore there to win this fight again by decision. 5 straight decisions to start the night off. At this point, Dana White's, flipping chairs and calling everybody, well, if he even cared about this thing. I don't even think he cares about this, if I'm being honest, but the old Dana would have been flipping chairs and cussing out a bunch of guys backstage. if 5 fights start the night off all by decision. But yes, on to the next fight. We got Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. I don't know. To me, this is a Nathan Fletcher dog play again here. I'm touching Bunes, I'm touching Yannis, and then I'll touch Fletcher. 300 plus underdogs here, or 3 plus 300 underdogs here on this fight card that I'm already looking at. Obviously, Nakamura, out of Japan, 9-1, highly touted prospect, a lot of explosiveness, a lot of finishing capability. I just think Fletcher's crafty, and I think he's experienced. At only 27 years old, already has 11 fights, all in throughout Cage Warriors. It's the promotion Paddy Pimblett came out of, and a lot of these England guys come out of. Not necessarily the greatest of competition, but you could say the same thing over there for Nakamura fighting out of Japan. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think this is a Nathan Fletcher plus 350 play here. I think he's going to find a way to counteract Nakamura's explosiveness. The jab is going to be huge if Nathan Fletcher wants to win this fight. He's going to have to control this fight by the jab. I don't know. I wrote down Nakamura by decision minus 125 because that is a solid price if you want to buy down this minus 450 favorite in Nakamura. But I think I'm going to stick with the dog here, plus 325, Nathan Fletcher. On to the next fight. We got Kevin Vallejos versus Danny Silva. I'll be short and sweet with this one as well. Vallejos by knockout, minus 125. This kid is an absolute marauder. Tony was asking me a couple weeks back, any 24-year-old, 23-year-old, or younger type prospects that, we can get excited about here. And it's Kevin Vallejos for sure. This 145-pound weight division for him, he's thick in this division. Reminds me a little bit of like a Sean Shark, the Muscle Shark. I remember Sean Shark back in the day. This is the type of build this kid has, and then epic knockout power, and, not scared to stand and trade. This fight, to me, has 50K bonus written all over it. He's already received it in his last fight. Go check that knockout out. It's Kevin Vallejos all day for me, minus 125 by knockout. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Neil Magny in the next fight. Neil Magny, obviously, the longer fighter there, 6'3", 80-inch reach here at this 170-pound weight class. I just think Zaleski dos Santos is a lot more explosive, has, a lot more juice in the tank, and I think he's going to close the distance and make it a dog fight here for Magny. And I see dos Santos just getting it done in a gritty decision. We're going to open up this fight card. 5 out of 6 fights go to decision. I think dos Santos wins it. Plus 160 by decision. He is minus 210. Obviously, to touch on the over-under, 2.5, he's at minus 180 for the over. So they see what I'm seeing here, and I think it's a dos Santos decision. On to the next one. Another one that this is a just epic parlay piece. If you want to throw the $18,500 for 10 grand, I do not blame you in one bit, and that's Karol Rosa. Karol Rosa at minus 185, you could throw the 18.5 on it for 10 racks. I'm not even joking, guys. This is an absolute lock. Oh, I don't like when you say it's a lock. It is a lock. She's going to take down Nora Cornolle all 3 rounds and win either by decision at minus 145 or sub her, which is, plus money there. That's why I just said I don't know if she subs her or if she just straight wrestles her all 3 rounds. Either way, it's Karol Rosa all the way, minus 185. Like I said, throw the 18,500 on it for that 10 racks. All right, Karol Rosa, get it done for us, girl. On to the next fight. We got Estevam Rabovics versus Elves Brener. Rabovics minus 260 there for you. Brener plus 210. I've made some money off Brener, as a dog in the past. This guy, every time he fights, he's bleeding as well. Rabovics with those sharp elbows and, crisp boxing and finishing capability. He also has some sub capability. Rabovics is the real deal. I think he's well-rounded. He's another one of these guys that's up and coming as well. I'm leaning Rabovics here. I don't know if he's going to win by decision or if he's going to get a TKO. I think, minus 260 is obviously really juiced, but I think it's just the safest bet because Rabovics is, he could even get a guillotine choke on Elves Brener. It would even surprise me. The over-under in this fight, 2.5 rounds. Over is minus 130. But this fight to not go the distance, no, minus 135. So that, a little bit of head scratching there. I think it's Rabovics or pass here. Don't get caught up in the Brener dog money that's hit in the past. It's Rabovics or pass. On to the next. we got the co-main event here. Mateusz Rebecki versus Chris Duncan. You know, Chris Duncan, the plus 170 dog, has also made me money in the past. Great ground game he has. I just think he's going to struggle getting Rebecki to the ground. You know, the shorter, stockier fighter. This guy's built like a running back, Rebecki. He's like 5'8", 200. Makes that cut easily down there to 155. I don't know how he does it, honestly, because, you know, he's a big, thick guy, and he's big for this weight class. I know he's short, only 5'8", but he's not easy to take down. You do not want to get hit by him. You know, Rebecki, 20 wins, 2 losses in his MMA career. I just think he's the better fighter at the end of the day. I'm leaning Rebecki here. Minus 200's juiced, obviously. I think it's a scrap, and I do think it eventually hits the mat. I can see Rebecki getting a sub. Plus 530 for Rebecki by sub. Rear naked is what I'm seeing here. I like that a lot. But it also wouldn't surprise me to see this be, you know, a fight of the night war. I like the over 2.5 possibly as well. Plus 125. You know, you do get plus money on that over 2.5, which is starting to tend me or have me realize maybe Rebecki does get that sub or does get that knockout TKO. Either way, I think it's Mateusz Rebecki. If you have your money on him, I think you're safe to say. So, you know, on to the main event. We got Tatsuro Taira versus Young Sung Park. You know, it was supposed to originally be Amir Albazi, in which I was going to bet that side there. I think Albazi was going to do the exact counter wrestling and counter grappling that's needed to beat Tatsuro Taira, who's obviously this grappling ace out of Japan. I think Park has a very similar game plan, though. I think he's going to go in there and clinch up with Taira and, you know, counter grapple, get on top, ground and pound, not get caught in any subs, and steal some rounds. And, you know, at the plus 280 price, I'll take Young Sung Park. Thank you. I will, to upset this guy. You know, we've seen Tatsuro Taira already lose to Brandon Royval. That was obviously more of a stand-and-trade type fight in which we saw the holes in Taira's striking. You know, I think Park has, you know, had a lot more film to watch on Taira than Taira's had of Park. But that's besides the point. I think Park at plus 280 is the way to go. Over 3.5 rounds, I must say I do like the over. It is minus 110. Over 3.5 rounds, Young Sung Park in the main event. So, yeah, guys, like I said, I've just touched a ton of dogs. I'll give you all 4 of the dogs I was on, or at least a couple of them, I thought. It was Felipe Bunes, John Yannis, Tresean Gore, Nathan Fletcher, and Young Sung Park, 5-teamer. You guys heard it here. All dogs, round robin it, straight bet it, obviously straight bet it, obviously straight bet it. But if you have to sprinkle a little something like $10, you know, this is going to, I would say $10, the absolute most. These 5 dogs, you bet them straight, $10 sprinkle. You're looking at, what, since it's dogs, you should at least get 100 to 1 odds on these 5 dogs. So I like that. If you guys are just dog crazy. But, you know, for you guys that want to just put one big bomb on maybe a 2-teamer here, I think your biggest lock of the night is Karol Rosa, minus 185. So there's my first leg, Karol Rosa, minus 185. And there was one more. You know, I can't blame anybody for thinking Austin Bashi is that guy and he goes and gets those takedowns. I'd be contradicting what I said earlier in the video. I don't like betting on Austin Bashi. I'm not going to bet on him. I could see him struggling to get a takedown. Karol Rosa just straight up might be the biggest lock. Like 18,500 for this 10 racks with Karol Rosa. I'm not even kidding you guys. I think that's the way to go. Lock of the century. Maybe you go Kevin Vallejos minus 450 and you 2-teamer it with Karol Rosa minus 185. You probably get around even odds there. That's not too bad. I would recommend that. The Rebecki fight, it's just hard to say Rebecki's just an absolute lock for, like, you know, parlay piece. I'm going to stick with what I said. Karol Rosa, Karol Rosa, Karol Rosa. She's going to get the money for us, the big fat favorite. We will ride that. But, yeah, guys, there you go. UFC Apex card broken down. Gave you guys some parlays. Gave you guys, you know, a best bet. It is a fat favorite. You know, I will be having, you know, some dogs out on the website as well for you guys. So, yeah, check it all out, Tony'sPicks.com. use that 2-for-1 capper promotion. I'm not the only capper that's betting MMA. So, go check out all the cappers on our site and use that Tony T discount code. Get that 15% off. Peace.